Hi, I'm Steve Howard, White's Electronics, here to talk about White's GMT gold prospecting metal detector. It can be a little intimidating when you look at any new model. All the controls and all the buttons and switches can be a little bit intimidating. The GMT is very easy to use. The primary thing you deal with when prospecting is ground rejection, and that's fully automatic on the GMT in the fast tracking position. You just pump the loop a few times and it'll smooth out and balance. I'm ready to go. That's as fast as ground balance is, and it'll track as I sweep along to the changing ground automatically in the fast tracking position. You also have the option of going manual, and if you flip it to manual, then you use your plus and minus buttons up here on the top to set your ground balance manually. Basically, you're just pumping it, finding your plus and minus until you get very little change in sound as you pump the search coil up and down. At that point, you're ready to go. The reason a person might want to go manual is if particular hot rocks are giving them a hard time. You can manually set it to a particular type of mineral hot rock and then ignore that hot rock in that entire area. You also have grab. So if you're searching in manual and you decide, well, what did the automatic system decide the ground rejection should be? You just press the grab button. It'll update the ground balance to that setting that tracking has been tracking all along. You've got your on-off gain control, which is a sensitivity. Of course, you want to run that as high as you can and the detector still behaves itself, which means you can identify a beep as being a target as opposed to just noise. So the gain, higher you go, the deeper you go, but it's going to get a little bit nervous and jumpy, and you're going to back it off until you get it to where it's smooth and stable and you can identify real targets. The audio threshold you set so you just barely hear a sound, and everybody's hearing's a little different. You want to be able to hear just a tint of that sound. That gives you your ultimate sensitivity to small targets. You also have an SAT control on the GMT. What SAT does is it smooths out minor imperfections in the ground. So if your ground's a little bit bippity bonkety, you can speed up your SAT and it'll smooth that out. So you can again, so that you can identify what a real target beep is as opposed to just ground noise. The higher you go on the SAT, the smoother it runs, but the quicker you have to move the loop. And it can tune targets out if you linger the coil too long on top of the target. It'll eventually tune it out. So you don't want to use fast SAT unless you absolutely have to smooth out the ground. The other control is this switch over here. It's got the battery check, and then it has audio signal boost. If you think you're hearing a target really weak and small, you can go to audio boost, and it's going to significantly increase the sound on that small target. Sometimes when you start to sweep a target, a very small nugget, the ground tracking and the SAT can tune that out. But if you're holding the trigger, it disables the tracking temporarily, so it won't tune targets out if you linger over them quite a while. The other option is trigger forward. It's going to give you a grunt if the detector is certain that it's iron. Gives you a very distinctive grunt. It'll save you, having to dig around some of those big old